Well, hi everyone, and welcome to week 1 of ADMG 475 Executing Project Management Level 2. So welcome back. It's good to see you folks. From continuing on where we left off in 474, we are going to pick up right where we left off with our black tie gala. And if you recall, we were halfway through chapter 8 from the textbook, which was allocating resources. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish up that allocating resources this week. But first I do want to cover a few things that you already know, and then a few changes. Okay, so reminder, our textbook is the same. Both books. The PMBOK is optional. I highly encourage you to have it. Microsoft Project 2016, 2013 works equally as well if you have it. 2016, Dream Spark, all of this stuff, you guys know this. Nothing different from 474. Okay, so here are some of the changes. The discussion requirements are somewhat different, and I'm going to go over those in an upcoming slide. Also, the discussion questions are different. They're more case study oriented. So in 474, we had an opportunity to explore resources. What I really wanted you to learn from 474 was how to find information related to very specific project management situations and circumstances, reading and evaluating the information. Now in 475, what I want you to do is more critical thinking and problem solving. Again, you're still going to be researching, and you're still going to be supporting your assertions with information, but you're going to be working on more problem solving type discussion questions. Something new in 475 is also the introduction of some team activities. So you will be participating in virtual team meetings 4 times during this term. Module 2, 4, 6, and 8. Now when there is a virtual team meeting, there will be no discussion question. Okay, just so you know, the virtual team meeting will replace the discussion question for that week. Now, as in 474, you were broken up into small discussion groups. Same thing in this class. These discussion groups will not change. You will be with this group of people through the whole 475. So that will give you guys a chance to really get to know each other and get to know each other's work, because the real purpose of this is to be able to come together and share what you are doing, learn from each other, take the best of what each other is doing, and learn to incorporate those things. In real project management, when project teams come together, the project team members share and contribute to the project documents. And that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be sharing and contributing to everyone's project documents so that everybody's work improves as a result. You're going to be answering some questions and having some discussions in these virtual meetings. You're going to pick somebody to act as a project manager to submit a document for the team that will document your meeting and will answer those questions as a group. You are expected to attend these meetings, or if you are unable to attend, of course, I highly encourage you to try to find a time when it's suitable for everyone. But if you are unable to attend, the team needs to meet. And they may just need to meet without you. So you will need to figure out how you will be able to contribute to the questions in such a way that your contributions will make an impact in the assignment that is submitted. You can use any tech that you want to have these meetings. However, I have set up a Blackboard Collaborate team room for every one of you. Each of the 3 teams, there's 3 teams that have been created, or 3 or 4 teams, I'm not too sure. So a Blackboard Collaborate room has been set up for those meetings, and of course you're welcome to use those. Why are we doing this? I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of comments, and sometimes I get a lot of complaints. Why are we doing this? Well, I cannot stress enough to you, in all of the literature I read and in a Washington State job information technology tech job fair that I attended in 2016, there were a couple of skills gaps that were identified. The first, of course, was critical thinking. We hear that a lot. The second skill gap was team work. Students coming out of college and not being able to work in teams. And then you add global organizations to the mix. You add teams, virtual teams, and you may very well be working for an organization where you're sitting in a virtual team, and you need to know how to work with people across time zones, people who are not co-located where you are, where you can walk into the same conference room and sit down. So synchronous meetings, which means at the same time, web-enabled virtual meetings are encouraged and required. I suggest that you start a discussion thread in your Canvas team room. Remember, you have a Canvas team room and you can start discussions. I encourage you to start a discussion thread that helps you to define how you're going to meet, when you're going to meet, get everybody on board, then move into whatever platform, whatever tech you choose to use for your meetings. If you're unable to attend in person, you must contribute some. How negotiate with the project manager so that you know and that you get your information to the project manager so that your contributions can be included. Missing members should be aware that it is their responsibility to contribute and to know who is the project manager for the activity. You need to stay in touch and you need to communicate to the PM. The PM should not have to hunt you down, and I will encourage project managers not to go hunt anybody down. It is not your job to go look for your teammates. It is their job to come and know that there is a virtual team meeting, and if they're unable to attend, get the information to you. Even though this is a team activity, I will be assigning grades individually, and it's important to understand project managers, teams as a whole. If you find that somebody just didn't contribute, didn't show up, you never heard from them, leave their name off of the assignment. Pure and simple. There's no reason why you should feel guilty or obligated to include somebody's name on an assignment when they did not contribute. And if I need to be very, very clear, if you do not participate, why should you receive credit for an assignment? That just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you don't get credit for not doing the work. So this is really important. And again, these are such important job skills. I cannot stress this enough. Virtual teams, you need to show up and you need to know how to work in a virtual team. And I hope that these 4 opportunities will really help you hone some of these skills. Understand that there's the offline component that you can do in a Canvas discussion thread, and then the synchronous virtual meeting where you all come together, discuss the questions, and get it all wrapped up. So enjoy the opportunity, please, and I hope you will learn from it. Each of the 4 meetings, there will be a custom form that will be relevant. It'll have different questions on it, and whoever is acting as the project manager will fill out the form for everyone. And I do want to notice that the date and time of the meeting and the members present are listed, as well as contributions of members not present. This is where you would put this is where you would make sure that you identify that anybody who didn't participate in the live virtual meeting is included. All right, so here's some changes up for the discussion guidelines. A few things that I want to make sure. I was really generous last term with discussion points, so I really want to make sure that we go over what are the requirements. Now remember, your discussions take place in the small groups. You post 3 times your initial post answers the initial discussion question. It's worth 50% of the points. Then you have 2 peer responses, which are worth 25% of the total points each, making up 50%. So you have 50%, 50%, and they are graded independently. There is a rubric accordingly. You need to post on 2 separate days. A discussion is a conversation that occurs with people. I've said this before in other classes. If you look at discussions as a task, you are going to hate this. If you look at discussions as an opportunity to have conversations, to learn from more capable peers, to share what you know, then you'll love discussions. So that's your choice on that one. Your initial post, to be a minimum post, is 150 words and 1 reference, properly APA formatted. For an initial post to be exceptional, it needs to have 250 words and include 2 references, one of which can be the textbook and another one should be an external source. Now remember, APA will require that you include in-text citations as well as your references. Your peer responses should be at least 100 words, and to be considered exceptional should have 1 properly formatted APA reference. Okay, so you want to have at least 1 citation reference with your peer responses. And again, I cannot stress this enough. It's okay to say I agree, but you may not simply restate what somebody else already said. Wow, great post. I too think that blah 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 blah. Again, thanks for sharing. I mean, that doesn't add anything to the conversation. That just gives them a warm fuzzy. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like what I wrote, but that really adds no value to the conversation. So you need to add something more. Peer responses need to be substantive. They need to add some value. Okay, so this week's discussion, week 1's discussion, and I encourage you that before searching for any articles to support your assertions, make sure that you're not duplicating something that somebody else has already put in there. Okay, so you want to watch that. So in chapter 6 of the PMBOK, it suggested that it is important to assure that resources needed for the project have proper domain-specific knowledge, right? And we know what domain-specific knowledge means. It means that if you're doing construction PM, you probably want to have a knowledge and background of construction. If you're doing IT, you want an IT background. If you are doing healthcare project management, you probably want some kind of healthcare background in some way, shape, or form. Domain-specific knowledge. So think about the various tasks in the Black Tie Gala and identify at least 4 tasks or activities that require some very specific domain type of knowledge. And then how are you going to assure that you have the right people available for the job? What are some of the skill gaps? How will you address the skill gaps? Find at least 1 article that supports your assertions. Okay, your initial discussion response is due no later than Thursday, and you know how to earn full credit. Okay, so moving on to your assignment this week, the project update. We are less than 6 months away from our project. So aside from 1 meeting to discuss the appropriateness of project tasks identified, if you remember Module 9, 474, and of course the team activity that's going to happen in week 2, not this week, but in week 2, the project team still really isn't meeting formally, as the project has not really officially kicked off. Well, we're gonna change that. The project is really kicking off. There are definite disadvantages in a project that fails to have a formal start. There are many decisions that need to be made outside of the official work that fail to be captured properly or do not achieve proper approval. Think about how you might manage this information that's floating around regarding your still unofficial project. Okay, so Beginning in Module 2, your team is going to start meeting on a regular basis. Remember that you're going to have virtual team meetings in Module 2, 4, 6, and 8. So in preparation for your first meeting, I want you to think about all of the things that need to be accomplished in this project. Now below I have identified what I consider to be a brief and incomplete list of things that need to be done. So I want you to think about these things and all of the other things that need to be done. Remember, we've got to get a venue, we've got decorations, we've got entertainment, we've got master of ceremonies, we've got people who need to run the actual event. We need to get donations for a silent auction. We need to get an auctioneer, most likely. We need to advertise the event. We need to go over our donor list, make sure that our donors all get the information, the invitations. We need to make sure we've got good, strong publicity here and that we are capturing and getting people to attend the event. So these are just a few of the things that I can think of, but I'm sure as you're looking at this, you're probably thinking of other things as well. So I want you to kind of kick this around in your head, because next week in your virtual team meeting, you want to come prepared to discuss these things. However, in this week's assignment, you are going to be leveling resources. So remember, in 474, we started working on our human resource plan, and the only thing that we really worked on was the RACI chart. So in this module, you're going to deal with all of those over-allocated resources that you have in your work breakdown structure, and you're going to prepare a plan for making sure that you don't have resource overloads in the future. Okay, so you want to open up your WBS in Microsoft Project, make any changes that I might have mentioned to you in week 10 and 474. Make sure you get that all up to speed. And then you want to adjust resource allocations and level any over allocated resources. Now there's plenty of information in the module introduction. Under the additional resources videos, I have included some great videos on resourcing, basic resourcing, assignment, scheduling, leveling information. The textbook also talks about resource allocation beginning at 8-9 and how to resolve over allocated resources. There's a number of really great suggestions here. So you want to go over that information, you want to review the videos, and then you want to resolve any of your over allocated resources. Now whatever technique you use is up to you, and there are a number of good techniques to choose from. Now you want to, I want to stress to you that how you resolve one item doesn't necessarily mean that's how you need to resolve all of the items. Okay, so it's really important that you understand that in some case you may add an additional person. In another case you may move the timing of it. You may move a person. You may add days. You may do a variety of different things in order to change and resolve an over allocated resource. And what I'm trying to say is that you need to look at each over allocated activity individually and choose whatever is the appropriate method for that activity on an individual basis. So feel free to do that. And then you're going to prepare a plan for monitoring and managing resources throughout the project. Address over allocation resources as needed. This should be written. So you're submitting both the Microsoft Word document you're going to add to the human resource plan that you did in module 10 of 474. You're going to add to it behind the RACI chart. You're going to add your plan for monitoring and managing your monitoring and managing your resources. You're going to add that to that Word document, and then you're going to submit your Microsoft project document. Don't forget that you do have a quiz that is due on Sunday. All of your Assignments have rubrics. Be sure to review them so that you know what's there. And of course, don't hesitate to ask if you have any questions. You know that I'm sitting there in Skype, or that you can email me and I'll get back to you just as quick as possible. So I hope this is helpful to you. Have a great week and let me know how I can help. Take care.